Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Society of Germantown's live streamed worship service. I'm Susan Deering, the worship associate this morning. Our worship service this morning will be led by Reverend Kent Mathias. The music for our service will be provided by our music director, Mark Doherty, on piano, along with Beverly Gross Spencer, Siobhan Rawpock, and Bob Heffley, who will share their beautiful voices. Our hymns this morning will be some old familiar ones from our hymnals, and we're posting the lyrics in chat, so please, you'll be muted, sing along. Our technical help this morning, without whom none of this would be possible, is provided by Treva Berger, Avery Hamill, Jessica Stanforth, Sarah DeGioia, Lisa Dutton, and Celeste Lamb, along with Bob Williford and Tom Spencer providing video support. Before we begin, I have a few announcements about today's service and our community. All of the email addresses and phone numbers mentioned in the announcements will also be provided in the chat section of Zoom, in our newsletters, and on our website. Please make sure you display your Zoom name accurately. If you don't know how to rename yourself, please call 215-844-1157 for guidance. Visitors and return guests, we're glad to see you, as well as our regular members and friends. If you would like more information about our congregation, please email the welcoming team at welcoming@usguu.org. If you or someone you know is experiencing hardships, please reach out to us. Contact any staff member or our caring team. There's a lot going on in the USG community today and throughout the week. Here are a few highlights for you. Please see the chat for information on the following youth programs that we're hosting after the service today. At noon, there's growing anti-racist UUs for kindergarten through second grade. At 1, the anti-racist program for 3rd through 6th graders meets. At 3, the elementary edition of Minecraft UUtopia meets. And at 6 p.m., a new youth dream group meets. For adults at 11:10 this morning, please join us to become more acquainted with our church and its minister in a Q&A session with Reverend Kent. The link will be provided in chat. At 5 p.m. today, a Breathe Mindfulness session will be hosted by Reverend Kent. Other upcoming February events include a group of special mindfulness sessions, a death cafe, a guest speaker on education next Sunday during ERC Presents. And sadly and very unfortunately, due to weather conditions, our in-bulk service tonight and on Monday will be canceled. The lights across the back look so beautiful. It would have been really nice, but we're expecting a lot of snow. So please stay safe as the snow comes through. Please check your email or contact our office at communications@usguu.org for more details. And now let's turn our attention to the present moment and our spirits as we begin our worship service. In the soft light of this flame, may our lives shimmer anew. May we notice new possibility in those relationships that seem lost. May the turning of the year give birth to a dream. May the emerging light pull a new story into view. And may what is give way to what might be. May we believe again in the world that we imagine. Welcome this morning to our celebration of life.
Goodness in the air. Buenos días a todos. Good morning on this last day of January as we prepare for some snow in the area. I know I'm excited and looking forward to some beautiful whiteness in the air and on the ground, and maybe getting out and having some fun with it in the woods. So maybe you're excited too, or maybe you're not. I'm so sad about so many different parts of pandemic life, but this would be the part where I say, children, come on up. Let's have a chat together on the chancel stage. Don't be afraid of your minister. Come on. But I'm still saying it. And this is a little story time for all ages. We all have a desire for story in us. So let me just start by stating the obvious, which is that during pandemic, things have been so difficult and so much has changed in our lives. Today, we're going to look at a television show. How many times, kids, have you looked at television shows during church or synagogue or anything? This is a special day, but this one, I believe, contains some inspiration and lessons for how we, in general, in our lives, but especially in COVID, we can hang in there and sometimes do really well. The show is called Alone. It's a wilderness survival show. Each season, I think there have been somewhere between 8 and 10 seasons. Each season, 10 people are placed by themselves alone in the wilderness. Each person chooses 10 items they can bring along with themselves. And in order to be eligible, the participants had to have experience in wilderness survival. So the show is always saying, don't try this at home by yourself. We, right now, are going to watch 2 video clips from season 1, which takes place in Vancouver Island in Western Canada. In the first video, Mitch searches for clean drinking water. In the second video, Lucas is looking for food. In both situations, both men decide to move their camps to a new location where they hope for more success in sleeping, staying warm, and getting enough to eat and drink. Watching now Lucas is a high skill guy with all that yurt he made. A lot of the contestants don't have that level of carpentry skill or something. But no matter what, watching Mitch and Lucas both break down their existing camps, which they had worked hard, believe me, to make in the first place, and then to make a boat out of tarp and leaves or carry the logs, walk through thorny bush that could cut their clothes, which they really need those clothes. It was all really impressive to me. They both realized that what they were doing was not producing the results they wanted. They weren't getting clean drinking water or the food they needed. We all need food and water. So both went through challenging experiences emotionally and physically, and they took risks to make change. Does that remind anybody of anything you're experiencing during pandemic? Does that remind you? It reminds me a lot. Perhaps you have had to make difficult changes and set up a new way of doing school, or set up a new way of playing or connecting with friends, because couldn't do it the old way. And maybe the first try didn't work very well, and you and your family had to make another plan, and then maybe another, and oh my gosh, now we're on plan B and C and D. Keep trying different ways. Maybe after many changes, you found a way in your heart, in your mind, to accept the imperfections the imperfections of the situation. It wasn't exactly what you wanted in the new situation, such as how you do school or spend time with friends. Maybe you also have found a way to be grateful and give thanks for the unexpected good things that are happening as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I so miss seeing everybody in person. We are still connected in spirit. And I look forward to talking to you and connecting in the days and weeks to come. Thanks for gathering around, children. Okay, friends, now we're transitioning to the concerns of the community and the world. And I want to lift up that my wonderful colleague, our intern minister, Latifah Griffin, was to do this section of concerns and prayer. But over the weekend, her fiance, Keisha, had to be admitted to the hospital again for kidney problems. So Latifah is taking care of the most important stuff of family right now. And our hearts and prayers are certainly with Keisha Rogers, her fiance, and the whole family as they continue to try and get things worked out. We take space every Sunday morning intentionally together to lift up the joys and the sorrows of our lives. We give thanks for so many people working hard around the world, around the country, delivering vaccine to people, give them a shot in the arm so that they can be safe with the pandemic. And we give thanks for everybody who's giving and getting the vaccine. And may there be more of that for all human beings around the planet. Want to lift up two more folks in the community that have been going through some ups and downs. Our own Avery Hamill, who's a wonderful leader in our tech team, one of our high school students. Avery had a tough time earlier in the month. They realized that he has insulin-dependent diabetes type 1. Poor guy spent 2 nights in CHOP Hospital. And now he and his wonderful family are learning about some new habits that Avery's been taught in ways of taking care of himself. He's doing better. He's in his normal activities, and he's helping run the worship today. He's playing the videos. A big shout out of love and care to our man Avery. And thanks. It's good, Lisa. I want to give a big shout out as well to Linda Brunn, who had a tough week, realized she was having some heart issues, and had to very quickly have a planned surgery to have stents put in her heart. Our thoughts are with her and Dennis. She is home already, recovering, and we're sending her energy, healing, comfort, and strength prayers from the whole community. We lift up so many of these joys and sorrows left unsaid. We lift them up together as we bond in beloved community. Will you join me together in a time of prayer? This prayer is from a colleague of mine, Reverend Sarah Lawal. Spirit of life and love, holy mystery, how do we pray for hope when things are tough? How do we bow down or look up or sit in silence or walk amongst the trees to make hope come alive? We breathe. We look within. We listen. We reach out. We hold in the depths of our hearts that knowing that we have, that hope is a gift that cannot be destroyed. It is the heartbeat always stirring within us. It is the imagination awakening to us the possibility. It's the unfolding of faith and action. May we hold on to hope and carry it with and for one another. May we be vessels of comfort and compassion. May we be vessels of hope and healing. May love prevail. May love prevail. In the name of all that is holy, we pray. Amen. Establishing reliable shelter and sources for clean drinking water, warmth, and food are top priorities for every participant to survive. I got another video for you here where we will meet Wanaya. She has included in her 10 items that she selected a hunting bow and an arrow. We're about to see a video of Wanaya's hunting success. Want to warn you, make you aware, the scene is a bit graphic in showing a grouse, which Wanaya has already shot with her bow. Wanaya will give thanks for the bird and then prepare the bird for cooking and eating. I love how she says, "What a freaky morning." Oh, that one gets me every time. I just started to cry. We can always look at sacred scriptures, stories, poems, and songs, which can reveal meaning and lessons in our lives. These guideposts can be especially helpful during times of strain and uncertainty. And healthy religion, healthy modern religion, should definitely acknowledge that there are actually many valuable and inspirational television shows out there. It's really been true for a long time. A best friend of mine from childhood, Quint, turned me on to this show alone. And Kristen, Micah Ellis, and I watched the season together. It's a good family activity during pandemic. During many of the scenes, one of us in the family would say something like this: "Wow, these truths or wisdoms that they're talking about wilderness survival apply in so many ways to life getting through COVID." I deliberated how best to present this sermon. In doing so, I kept circling back to a preaching adage, which says the preacher should not chew and swallow the food for the person in the pew. Rather, the preacher should strive to prepare and offer a meal to the person in the pew, which they can eat and digest as they wish or can. So rather than trying to unpack all the ways I perceive wisdom, I'm going to simply tell you some of the stories which I view as valuable in the light of our current living and living in general. You can take what you find useful and leave the rest. And at the end of the sermon, I am going to highlight a few of my basic takeaways, Kent's takeaways from wilderness survival for pandemic living. I really should, I got to Facebook this out, those lessons at the end. So that's how good it's going to be. The show starts with the first activity, which is that the 10 participants gather as a group at an orientation camp. They all get to come together in these tents. And in the camp, they learn how to use video cameras provided to them, as they are obliged to film themselves throughout. That's part of the deal. They have to film themselves a certain amount of every day. They learn how to use the satellite phone provided for use in only one call if they want or need to tap out. That is, if they need to stop their participation at any time, they can make one call on the satellite phone, which will trigger them getting picked up or rescued immediately. In orientation camp, participants are fed healthy food and give plenty of drinking water. They chat with each other, make a final phone call or text to family and friends. And then comes the day when they begin the adventure of being alone in the wilderness. The helicopter dramatically delivers these people to their sites one at a time. The chopper rides present vistas of pine forests, peaceful bays, rolling hills, and majestic horizons. Adrenaline surges as each person is dropped off and then watches the departing helicopter, leaving them by themselves for the beginning of what may be a long time. In those first moments, people speak about excitement, joy, and fear. Each begins scouting their new location with curiosity and a student's mind. Everyone quickly concedes that it's very wet all the time. This drenched with what they call frog choking, goose drowning, ceaseless rain. The contestants struggle to stay dry. Night temperatures dip below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, defying many efforts to stay warm. Vancouver Island has a significant population of black bears. They all knew that going in. And there's cougars there too, actually, I think. Each participant has been randomly assigned to a location which they knew nothing in particular about in advance. They just get delivered to their site. A few of the participants learn rather quickly they have been placed near bears. It's really, for me, it's like one of those things, you get some good luck or you get some bad luck, and if your site is near bear activity. One man starts seeing right away in the ground half-eaten fish heads, which almost always indicates bear activity. And soon, this man observes a mama bear and her cubs in the trees looking down on him. And he says, pretty soon, I am terrified. He looks in the camera and shares that he has a history of being uncomfortable around certain types of wild animals. And it's not long before he taps out. He's the first one to tap out, calls for rescue, says, you know, it's not worth it. I'm terrified. I'm out. In another site, a woman also finds herself relatively close to bear activity. Yet she seems almost mystically comfortable and lighthearted, observing bears wandering around within 200 yards of her camp. She said, oh, look at the bears. And that the bears have almost very little impact on her decision-making. The two people, they respond differently. Throughout preparations for the entire experience, the participants were briefed time and again on food source limitations they were to encounter. So when they hit the ground, they're very pleased, even finding simple berries. Many of them rig up nets for fishing. Catching any one fish is a big victory in a day, and strikeouts for the days hurt. You go to the net, nothing. That's hurt. It hurts. One person catches a salmon and it's a royal feast. The participants adjust to the land and water as they come to know it. They hunt and gather ready to eat seaweed, limpets, which I learned are snails, did not know that. And they eat about any animal they can hunt, including mice. Sam has a thing, he props up a flat rock with a stick, and if the mouse comes under it, smacks it, and he shows you how to skin and cook a mouse. In another season, Sam gathers, roasts, and eats slugs, which, as Ellis used to say when he was young, that is disgusting. But he does it for protein. Hunting, gathering, and eating involve engaging any means necessary to survive. As we saw with Wanaya and others, expressing gratitude for all the ways Mother Earth provides such bounty at times creates a sense of spiritual thriving in the people. When giving thanks for food, you see time and again scenes like that one where the participants glow with a simple and profound happiness. It's also true, all the days almost are emotional roller coasters. Emotions can run real heavy, and many of the hardy, resilient participants eventually just sit down and begin to cry and say, this is so hard. I knew it'd be hard, but I didn't know it'd be this hard. And they just eventually open up and cry. They let it out. Every participant starts with some focus on winning the $500,000, which is the prize money for the person who lasts the longest. However, as the hours and days pass, many of them begin to talk about their own perception that the money has become less important to them. Many say, you know what, I'm not interested in beating the others. A number of them say something like, I realize that I'm really here to compete with, or better said, work with myself as I am, the good and the imperfect. I'm trying to dig deep and empower my heart, mind, and body to do the best that I can in this situation. So many of them say something like that. And they're all independent. They're not talking to each other to pick up this wisdom. It's coming to them. A number of the participants talk about giving up macho ideas of winning the battle against nature. Survival wisdom highlights learning to work with nature, getting into sync with natural rhythms like rain and sun. Just get in the flow. Don't fight the flow. As we saw with Mitch, during rainy season, the sun seldom appears. When it does, a lot of them go out and hang up their clothes. It's one way to fight mold accumulation in the clothes. One time, the sun's out and Alan hangs up his clothes and goes out to get some sun on his skin. I believe that's increasing his vitamin D. And then he takes a bath in the bay. Now, at this point, Alan has been in the wilderness 38 days. And he lets out this philosophical flow, which I want to quote right now. Alan says, as he's going out to bathe in the bay, that's another thing I've thought about out here. I think we use too many health and beauty care products. You know what I've used for bathing since I've been out here? Water and sand. And it is sufficient. Just basic. Good old-fashioned basic. I think that's where we're failing at, just basic down-to-earth skills. We're the only creature in nature that cannot survive apart from all this artificiality we have. Don't get me wrong, many parts of technology are good, has its benefits. But something is wrong if you go through your whole day looking at a screen and pushing a button. I'm just saying balance. That's all I'm saying is balance. We're going to have to slow down, think, get back to being real people, listen to each other. I think if we focus more on what we have in common than what we have different, a lot of things would change. Like air. We all breathe it. I don't care if you're a billionaire or a homeless person. You breathe the same air as each other. We all breathe air. Same with water. End quote. Some of my main takeaways include: approach each day with curiosity in a student's mind. Be open to making changes previously considered untenable. Focus on letting people in your life know how very much you love them. Be gentle and kind with yourself. Don't fight against every new rhythm of COVID life. Pray to know the difference between what you want and what you need. Pray to know the difference between what you can and can't control. Speak up for what you and others need. Do what you can. Surrender the rest. Put it down. When things are sad and difficult, be open to sitting down for a good cry. Let it out. When life offers sustenance, boldly give thanks. When you do, clap, shout, jump up and down. Spend devotional time in nature, which is our temple, where we get in touch with creation, creator, and self. Regularly revisit memories of good old times. And always do what you can to have fun. Howl at the wolves. This guy named Sam is so good at howling at the wolves over the bay. You gotta see it. And they howl back. Recite poetry. Sing your favorite songs or just make them up. When he was staying out in the rain and stuck in his tent, one guy just kept singing to himself, ring, ding, diddly dee, ayo. Ring, ding, diddly dee, ayo. Blessings be. Amen.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it.
Our beloved community is a source of love, healing, and survival to all of our members and friends. Please be as generous as you can as we gratefully receive the offering for the ongoing work of our community. You can text donations of any amount to 215-608-2660. Texting 20 space COVID sends $20 to USG's COVID Relief Fund. 20 space pledge applies $20 to your annual USG pledge. And 20 space sun sends $20 to the general Sunday plate. You can also give online at usguu.org/give or send a check to the USG office. These instructions will remain in the Zoom chat. Thank you very much for your generosity.
Tis the gift to be simple, tis the gift to be free, tis the gift to come down where we are to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, so we'll be in the valley of love and delight.
Got one last video to share. This one is showing Lucas, who's a lovely dude from small town Iowa. And Lucas is a good crier. He definitely sits down and cries sometimes. In this scene, he has carved out what I will call his own simple banjo. And he makes up his own, what he calls two-note song. Let's all watch the two-note song. You can sing or hum along and hold this as a reminder of our own capacity to make music anytime, anywhere.
Here's to finding many ways to reclaim joy in these unusual circumstances. That was beautiful. I'm going to extinguish the candle now to mark the end of our worship service. Please join us for fellowship right now in a breakout room by staying right here in Zoom. And see the chat for the link to the Q&A with Reverend Kent at 11:15. Please pass the peace to one another and blessings to you in the coming week.